Hello and welcome back to the Nerd Soup Podcast. As always, I'm Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, joined by the one and only Bo Oliver. How you doing today, Bo?
Good.
You know, it's pretty impressive. Usually when we say we're going to be doing more and more podcasts, we usually don't do one for a month.
Well, I'm assuming this is going to end up in the trash bin.
Yeah,
So.
it usually does.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't try to put out podcasts.
Oh, no, we try.
Yeah, it's not like we're like just saying, we'll just tell them we're going to do more and more, and then fuck them. We're just going to wait a month.
We're very consistent with podcasts. It's just that you guys don't hear them.
Not consistent as in they're consistently good, as more like consistent as we do them, but they're not always the best. I have a good feeling about this one. Some more of your questions that you sent us at, I keep saying at before I say an email address. It's this Twitter age. You know, everything's at this, at that. Email needs to figure it out. Put the at in front instead of the back. nerdsoupforyou@gmail.com. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to be talking about the Game of Thrones, the rumored 55 nights, was it? 55 nights for a battle scene. And we're going to be talking about the Lord of the Rings Amazon series. Reportedly is, what's the budget? $1 billion. That's insane. Can you just think about that for a second? $1 billion for 5 seasons.
Yeah, that's good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
How do these streaming services do that? They're just throwing out massive amounts of money.
Jeff Bezos can probably just fund it by himself.
But even Netflix is throwing money at everything. Throw money at us, Netflix.
Well, Netflix it's a lot different because they're in a lot of debt, but people assume that they're just going to keep on growing, so they allow them to borrow and their stock continues to rise. But Amazon has money. That's the difference. Amazon is making money. So I always said that if I was like a billionaire and I was a nerd, I would just throw like $1 billion at a movie or a TV show just to make like the most awesome thing ever. And I think it's less about them trying to make money off of this series. It's more about them saying, we want to kill our competition.
Or Bezos stole your idea and just probably hacked your phone.
Alexa?
Yeah, she probably screwed you.
Hello, Bo.
Wow.
Alexa, don't give away any of my ideas.
I'll call a lawyer or something.
Afraid I can't do that, Bo. Yeah, call a lawyer, and then it's the operator.
Yeah.
The robots have the lawyer. God, I love SpongeBob. One of the best SpongeBob jokes ever when he calls the Navy and the operator picks up.
Early season
Squidward,
SpongeBob.
the robots have the Navy.
Early season
Not the Navy.
Early SpongeBob is some of the funniest shit of all time.
When they think Mr. Krabs is a robot, that's prime SpongeBob.
I just want to go watch SpongeBob, to be honest. Can we end this?
We'll be back.
No. Yeah, okay.
2 hours later.
Oh, that's
the thing. Yeah, that's the guy.
Wow, everything.
Tom Kenny.
Everything ties together. So yeah, we got that, and we saw Rampage. So we'll talk about that later on.
Yes, we will.
You're not gonna want to miss that, folks. It's gonna be a fun review, to say the least. No, we'll save it. We'll save it.
Hold on, I have an incoming call.
Teddy?
No.
Oh.
Hello? Hey, Andres, the Marshmallow, in the middle of my podcast recording. What's going on?
Oh, Marshmallow. What's good?
Your podcast? Wow, I'm sorry.
I know, it's fine. I just got back from seeing Rampage, so you can't make my night any worse. Oh, yeah, that's fine.
This is like huge.
I'll set an alarm, and so you're thinking around 9 a.m.?
Yeah, 9 a.m.
Okay.
I'll be, okay.
Just to let you know that you're going to be on call for a Telu night.
Understood.
All right, man.
All right. Why did I get invited?
I'm me and the Marshmallow. You know, we have a good relationship off camera. It's not on many videos, but actually, we'll talk about what me and him are working on later in the podcast.
I'm just upset. It seems like you guys have a big morning planned, and no, it's fine. I guess we're just work friends.
Yeah.
All right. You want to start off with some questions?
Yeah, we'll start out with the fan questions.
All right. Oh, by the way, if you're listening, I keep forgetting to mention this, but I'm sure they know already. iTunes, the Nerd Soup Podcast, and on SoundCloud. So links are in the description, also in the bio of the YouTube. I'll probably tweet out a link, so if you follow me at Nerd Soup Monkey, I'm just going to plug my Twitter this whole time, if you don't mind. Check us out on iTunes and on SoundCloud for all you Android fellas out there. All right, this first question comes from Bobby Mooney. He asks, hey lads, big fan and keep up the great work. Thanks, Bobby. And my question for you guys is, has a movie ever genuinely scared you, and if so, what movie?
All the time. I mean, I guess we're starting with me.
Yeah.
I mean, just the movie that recently scared me, well, just from the trailer, was Hereditary.
Oh,
that's-
that looks like a good one.
Yeah, that scared the fucking piss out of me. And I just clean up in aisle G10 specifically was my seat. I have a photographic memory. It's ridiculous. I don't know
We
why I'm
just
doing
sat
this.
there for Rampage.
Well, okay.
I'm just saying.
Good short-term memory too.
Just complete package.
Some of my ex-girlfriends said. But scary. Yeah, well, the first time I saw Paranormal Activity, I get scared very easily. So that's why I like the horror genre. That's why I like roller coasters. So yeah, I mean, but I guess the scariest movie of all time, people usually say The Exorcist. Those movies, like The Witch was scary, but in a different way.
See, I don't get scared from movies easily. I kind of have a hard time. Like, in most horror movies, I'm not really too invested in anyway. And I don't know what it is. I get more anxiety. Like Mother. I know you didn't like that movie. But I think the movie did a good job of like making me feel uncomfortable. I really don't get scared. I just get more uncomfortable or get a little anxiety or a little stress, but not like popping out of my seat like they show on like the black what's it called? Night vision in the movie theaters. But you know what really scared me the most? And it's not even a movie, it's a television show. Season 2 finale of Twin Peaks literally scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I never felt like that before.
There are a lot of scary moments in season 3 too, but the finale of season 2 is by far the
That
scariest.
generally shook me to my core. The whole night I was like shaken up, and the next day I was like, what the fuck?
When the Dale doppelganger is just chasing him through the different rooms.
When Laura puts that scream on,
Oh yeah,
it
it's
gives
got a
me
hell of a scream.
fucking chills, man.
When Bob takes Wyndham Earle's like soul, it's like, what the hell is going
But David
on?
Lynch does a good job of creeping me out in general, like on a lot of his films and Twin Peaks, obviously. But that's one episode I go back to and was just like, whew. Even American Horror Story, done really nothing for me.
I've never watched it.
I watched like 2 seasons. Nah.
I watched like 8 seasons. This isn't scaring me. Yeah, but I get scared of all. Like I like a lot of horror films that are polarizing. Like the Paranormal Activity franchise, I like the first 3. I never saw the last 2, but because I heard they were just awful. But even people didn't like 3, so maybe I should watch them.
And
I like that franchise. It's fun.
I don't really see much horror. I guess the most recent, A Quiet Place, wasn't scared. Get Out didn't scare me. I wasn't scared. Maybe a couple times like, oh, that's creepy. That clown has a lot of teeth.
The Witch was... Did you see The Witch?
You love it, right?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
That's scary. You should watch The Witch.
I'm not going to see it if it's scary. No, I'll probably check it
Oh.
out. I feel like I get more scared at home, like by myself, lights off, like at midnight if I'm watching something, than I am at a theater full of people.
Yeah, and it's always good to watch horror movies stoned. I don't get stoned anymore, but I remember when I was watching the Paranormal Activity movies for the first time as a kid in high school, and we would all just get blitzed and go watch those movies, and it'd be like, what the fuck is going on? But I just love horror movies, and they're getting better and better. They're focusing on characters, more original stories, so that's always cool to see. Because it's a genre that it's just so easy to make money off of bad horror movies, like the new one coming out, Truth or Dare. You can make that movie for $15 million, and if it makes like 75 million, 80 million worldwide, you've made a nice little profit for yourself.
I know.
Because it's the movie that the casual fan says, oh, you want to go to the movies tonight? Let's see a horror film,
Yeah, especially for like the kids, high school audience.
Yeah, right.
Some of the reviews are coming out for that. I watched the Schmoes review. It said it was terrible.
I hear it's not good, yeah.
Yeah.
And Blumhouse, people always say, it's Blumhouse, so give it a shot. But they've been very hit.
Sorry.
The hell was that?
Babadook was pretty scary.
Are you being possessed?
Babadook was pretty freaky.
Yeah.
That kid
was.
creeped me out.
Babadook. Oh, my God. Yeah, the scariest part of the movie was the relationship between the mom and the kid.
Yeah.
And how it just kind of flipped towards the middle. That's a great movie, man. The Babadook. Duke. Oh, my God, he's here.
Good question. Now we got one from Matt from Boston. Hope you're not a Red Sox fan, or a Patriot fan, or a Bruins fan. And if you like the Celtics, then you're pretty much dead to me. But
no, Matt's good people.
Yeah, he seemed like a
Boston's
good guy.
a great city.
And his question is basically for me. So Matt,
if you are a Red Sox fan, I just want to say that Joe Kelly
is a bitch, and Aaron Judge basically moved your whole team back into your own
Don't
dugout.
say that, man. Don't call him a bitch.
I'm not mad. I called the
No, don't.
Joe Kelly.
Yeah, be a little respectful if he's a fan.
No, I'm talking about Joe Kelly.
But he did get snuffed by Tyler Austin.
No,
That was a clean slide.
He hit the third base coach.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's even cooler.
But Judge pretty much and Stanton bullied your whole team back to your own dugout.
We don't even know if he's a Red Sox fan. He could be like a rugby guy.
That's weird.
No, Boston, great city. Love Boston.
Never been there. Hear good things though.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times.
Want to go?
No, not with you.
And Matt X. Hey, I'm a huge fan listening to all the podcasts and watching all your videos, especially Game of Thrones. That is our specialty. My question is for Aaron. Suck it, Bo. I know he's a huge Lord of the Rings fan like myself, so I was wondering who his favorite character and movie in the franchise. I'd love to hear his thoughts on anything Lord of the Rings related to. Well, Matt, keep listening later on. Like we said, we're going to talk about the Lord of the Rings Amazon show, so that's good. Bo, you're not. No, you like Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, I like Lord of the Rings, but I'm not as invested in it as you. But I want to read the book, because it's one book, right? It's one book that was split into 3 films. Yeah, but I would defer to you for Lord of the Rings. Aragorn, right? Yeah, that guy.
That's your favorite?
And Gimli. It's the
dwarf.
The dwarf, yeah, I like him. Legolas, who doesn't like Legolas, you know?
Are you should name the whole fucking fellowship?
It only counts as one.
So, wait, it's pretty much like you name 3 characters, that only counts as one. That's what you're trying to say?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. For my favorite movies,
Sauron.
Okay, you just
I don't get that.
You're just naming characters now?
What is he, alive? Is he a spirit?
You're like Legolas, Aragorn,
what does he need?
Sam.
What does he need?
He's a hobbit.
For?
Frodo.
I feel like that ring was like for his girlfriend and he lost it. And it's just like a wacky comedy, but we're seeing it from the other side. I want to see the Sauron perspective. And he's got a giant fucking eye, right? So there we go. All right, go ahead.
I was just waiting to see where you're going to go with that one. My favorite film, I don't know, it's tough for me. I think Fellowship. I always loved the beginning. I like A New Hope, you know. When we were doing the Star Wars rankings, I kind of was lobbying for A New Hope over Empire. And I kind of feel the same way with this. I always love the beginning to something. Season 1, Game of Thrones, things like that. And I just love how it sets up Middle-earth and just the world it builds, and it sets up the Fellowship. And I think it's just a beautiful job. And I think when it's able to have such a wide reach as it does, and how much money do those movies make?
A lot.
A ton of money.
Yeah.
And a lot of before that, you know, people besides Star Wars, fantasy wasn't really. I mean, it would probably generate a lot of money, but it wasn't like it was going to be nominated for Oscars. And then here comes Lord of the Rings. And I know you like to say, oh, well, it wasn't really going against great competition for those 3 years, but it's still a magnificent achievement.
Yeah, it is. It is. And when you look at those movies, there's just something different about them. You feel like you're watching just something so tremendously epic.
I love just the long journey, and it feels like one of my favorite things is when you wake up on a weekend. I think it's usually Sunday, and you turn on, you're looking through the channels, and it's like 10 a.m. You just woke up, and you just TNT, and you just see Fellowship of the Ring just starting, and then you scroll through the rest of the day until like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
It's just all 3 movies, and you just lay in bed all day and eat terrible food. And
before you know it, it's Wednesday. Return of the King just got into the second act.
Oh, it's one of the great pleasures in life. Yeah, just at the beginning journey, that like the optimism, and then going forward, it kind of you see the deterioration of Sam and what the ring does, Frodo and Sam and their relationship and what the ring does to them, and just divides that. It's unreal. I need to rewatch them again. I need to read the books. It's Sam. He really is the glue of the whole movie. Without him, there's no Frodo. There's no really. He's not getting to Mordor. He really drives it. He's kind of like. I know you like to make the comparison from to Jon Snow and Samwise as like Samwell.
It's such a great tribute.
That he's Samwise to Frodo, like that relationship.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's Jon who's leading the charge.
Right. And Sam is more important to the Lord of the Rings story than Samwell Tarly is to the Song of Ice and Fire. I think it was just like a cute nod.
Yeah. There's so many, and the supporting characters are great. When the Fellowship forms, you got Legolas, you got Gimli, you got Aragorn, and even like Boromir. Like, he's such a great, complex character. They don't really, in the movie, they do show that, but I feel like in the book it's more developed. But
best death scene, I think. Top 5 death scene ever. When he's just eating all those arrows. Oh.
Yeah, but it's kind of like his own mini redemption arc within the first movie, and I like that because they actually moved that from the second book to the first movie.
Right.
And I think that was a great choice because you kind of have that own redemption arc within the first movie. And yeah, just the characters, the cinematography is fantastic. Peter Jackson directed his ass off. The special effects too, the orcs look fantastic, especially for that time.
That guy recently, I don't think it was recently, I think it's it's probably been like 5 or 6 years, but the guy who shot it. But when you talk about the cinematography, those movies, they hold up so well. And you look at movies sometimes, even now going to the early 2000s, you look at a film like a Spider-Man 2, doesn't hold up as well. But that first movie, The Fellowship of the Ring, it just looks gorgeous.
The score is fantastic too.
Oh yeah,
Getting
the music. Yeah. Who scored Lord of the Rings? Oh, Howard Shore.
And Lord of the Rings is not really as noticeable, I guess, or as iconic as, I guess, the Game of Thrones theme or Star Wars and things like that. But it fits the film so well.
It's a great fucking theme, though.
Yeah.
Everything about that movie, that's just Hollywood firing on all cylinders. It feels like old Hollywood, and it looks like something we've never seen before or have seen yet. I don't think there's anything that's come out that maybe Avatar. Before Avatar, that was like the Star Wars for a new generation.
And then you get introduced to all these things that you want to know more. You want the payoff. It sets up so many different things, the different creatures, the different characters, the different races, and you just like, I need to know more about this stuff.
Yeah, great world building. The Master, he did it first, man.
All right, now let's move on to Julia's question. She asks, you mentioned in your most recent podcast episode Uncharted. So I guess this is a you question.
Yeah.
I get my time, you get yours. I like that. You know?
I love this question, too. I was just chomping at the bit to answer it.
I think that video games are severely underrated when it comes to story. Ooh, I read that one wrong.
Aaron, do you want to read for the class?
I think that video games are severely underrated when it comes to storytelling. Do you have a favorite story-driven video game?
Number one, 100% agree. They're so underrated. I was watching something on YouTube the other day, and they were discussing GTA 5, that it's basically the most profitable form of art ever. It's made more money than Avatar, The Force Awakens, and Titanic, I think, combined, or almost. It's made more money than any book, any film, any album. And I think the people that were discussing it, I'm not going to say who it was, they were basically just kind of undermining the storytelling aspect of that game. Like, they just kind of threw the game together. Like, they complimented it as an artistic achievement in terms of building the world and recreating L.A. in the form of Los Santos. But they kind of just brushed off the story saying, oh, you know, it was cliche. I think GTA 5 is one of the greatest stories that I've ever seen play out. And it's more of a television show than it is a movie because the story, I mean, it takes like 3 days to beat the game. But Uncharted specifically, the writer of Uncharted, the first Uncharted game, Amy Hennig, she made it a point. She wanted to tell more cinematic stories through video games, and she's kind of started that trend. And we see it in so many franchises. I mean, Hideo Kojima, what he's done with the Metal Gear franchise, Uncharted. To me, The Last of Us still remains the greatest story that I've ever seen. Film, book, movie, TV show. Nothing's impacted me as much as The Last of Us. That final sequence, if you've played the game, you know, I was empty. I was heartbroken. That story took me for a goddamn ride that it's unforgettable. So yes, I think they are underrated, and my favorite story-driven game is The Last of Us, obviously. But there's so many great ones, and even God of War is coming out now, and they're saying that from a storytelling perspective, it's one of the best games of the franchise. The Witcher 3, there's just so many of them, even Fallout. So I think video games are concentrating on telling more original stories and epic stories because they have that capability. Such an interesting art form.
Yeah, at first when I was reading the question, I thought it was just going to be Uncharted based, and I don't know what that is.
You got to play Uncharted, man, especially now that you have a PS4. It's Indiana Jones, but it's better.
And I'm playing MLB The Show right now. It's not really that much of a story. But I'm dealing in the majors right now. I'm throwing heat.
Well, even FIFA. The FIFA games have tried to basically incorporate a real story with a made-up character.
I know Madden tried to do that too.
Yeah, but the FIFA one was much better. Madden one was okay.
For me, Assassin's Creed, the first two games were that end when like Ezio like finds the Apple of Eden and it kind of like breaks the fourth wall and it talks to I don't know, the guy in the Animus, the main guy. I haven't played those games in years, and I was a little younger, but that shit blew my fucking mind. I got Fight Club by a video game.
Yeah.
I started hearing the Pixies playing in the background. Where is my mind? I'm like, oh shit! Like, Dad, you seeing this shit?
Yo, Pops.
Like, yo, get in here. That shit was pretty good. That was a great story. I only played the other game after that, so I don't know how the story progresses because I kept making too many fucking games for me to keep up with.
Yeah, they kind of.
And I didn't see the movie, but I hear it's
awful.
So
it's one of the 5 worst movies I've ever seen in theaters.
And it's such a great story from the first 2 games.
Yeah, there's just nothing good about that movie.
It's a shame, really. How do you fuck that up?
I don't know, man.
You think it's just too much or like game?
No. I don't think it's too much. I think the biggest problem is that they're getting, like, what's happened with the comic book genre is that the people who are directing the comic book movies now are the people that came up on comic books. You know, you talk to James Gunn, the guy is a nerd. You know, he can get deep cuts into Marvel and DC and Image Comics. He's grown up reading this stuff. So when you have people like Jon Favreau creating Iron Man, he understands the source material. He knows how to strike that balance between we're going to appease the hardcore fans, but we also have to make this mainstream. We need an audience. Video games, the generation that grew up on all these great games aren't the ones making the stories. You know, you see some of these directors, they're like, yeah, we didn't really focus on this aspect of the source material. We didn't really know it. We just made the movie.
Yeah, they just see, oh, this guy can travel through time based on his DNA and access his memories. That's a cool idea. We'll just make our own thing.
Right. Yeah, and I think, you know, it's a case of a lot of these movies have been adapted by filmmakers that aren't that good. You know, the MCU is, or not even the MCU, Batman was directed by fucking Christopher Nolan. You have great directors who are being drawn to the material now. That hasn't happened yet for video games. But I don't think it necessarily needs to because, you know, the question says, I feel like storytelling is underrated. It is. It's the good stories are already being told through the video games. We don't need the movie adaptations.
Red Dead Redemption's a dope game, too.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption. That's one of the most anticipated this year. They keep pushing it back.
I'll definitely get that game.
Yeah.
That's going to be sick.
You need to play Uncharted. Oh, it's so much fun. Because it's so smart, too. It's basically Indiana Jones, but without, like, the fantasy. So it's grounded in realism, and it's really well done.
My ERA is under 1. It's unreal.
I don't believe that.
I'll send you a picture when I get home.
Yeah, what difficulty are you playing on?
It's dynamic, so it changes.
Little League?
Yeah, I'll take one more. And this is a doozy of a question.
But thanks for submitting it. I mean, it was very detailed. And
yeah, no,
we'll discuss some of the points that you brought up.
Is there a name here?
The name is Ew, I think. It's just Ew.
All right, and the question is, do you have any thoughts on what you would have liked to have seen in a totally ideal sequel of The Incredibles, or any glimpses of hope you can see for the premise we've now been given?
Yeah, and basically the question, it was a lot longer than that. It basically gave us an essay. But
I respect the shit out of that.
Yeah, no, he went into a lot of details on the problems he sees with the material that's been released so far in terms of the trailer and the story and the animation not looking as good, the voice cast. I'm pretty sure it's the same voice cast for the kids. He brought up that Dash kind of sounded a little weird. I look at The Incredibles and I think, listen, Pixar is not perfect. They've released sequels. Monsters, Inc. to me is a masterpiece. I fucking love Monsters, Inc. Monsters University, it's okay. So, I mean, The Incredibles, too. I think The Incredibles is one of their top 5 movies. I think Pixar does this a lot with their trailers, where they really hide the best moments, and I'm glad that they do that. They're one film company that actually does do that. Disney has that reputation just all around. So I think they're giving us snippets just to reintroduce the characters, say, hey, you remember this? And we're not getting the true meat of the story. Because we have no idea what the story is going to be. Obviously, the basic premise is that, what's her name? Mrs. Incredible? Elastigirl? That she's basically going to be the face of the heroes returning into the world. Mr. Incredible basically has to take on her role and be the at-home parent. And I guess it's a commentary on society today where we see a lot of women in the workforce and, you know, not men staying home, but there's a balance there, you know? There's sacrifices that these couples have to make now, which is interesting, but I think we're not getting the full premise just yet. But it could be bad, it could be good. We have to just wait and see. What do you think of the trailers?
I haven't really watched them, to be honest. I don't really...
You're not an Incredibles guy?
I am, but I'll be excited like a week before release. I'll watch the movie again.
I can't wait for this movie.
I'm not like on the edge of my seat like counting
the Underminer.
He does bring a couple points, like he wanted to see like the kids in their 20s focusing on teenage Jack and things like that.
I would have liked that too. I would have liked to have seen them aged up.
It's weird, right? Because a lot of things it's going to do as well is you're going to watch Incredibles before it comes out. So you're going to have that 2000s type world and references and technology and things like that.
Right, yeah.
And then we're going to see this one, and I guarantee like they're going to have iPhones and like Alexas and shit like that.
Yeah, apps and...
It's going to... Unless they don't, and they keep the continuity.
It's like the Fast and the Furious. Like Tokyo Drift is like the most modern one. Like in the timeline, Tokyo Drift is like the newest one, but they're all using fucking iPod Nanos, and he's selling like 2007 Jordans. What the hell?
Yeah.
Tokyo's really far behind.
So that's weird. And I guess you can argue we already got that story of the young kids. So like maybe if you age them up a little, you can have a different feel.
Well, I don't think there's only one story to tell, but like he said in the email, I would have preferred to see them older. I thought that's what we were going to see. Like the first sequence would have been the end to the first Incredibles, just to like tie up that battle sequence. And then it skips ahead, 10 years later. I'm excited for it though. I think he brings up some good points. Like the animation just kind of looks the same. I guess that's not a bad thing because the first Incredibles still looks really good.
Well, how much better can you get at animation?
Right,
as far as...
But I think they set the new standard with Moana because Moana is just, I think that's the best computer-generated graphics ever. Just Maui's hair, the way that shit just fucking floats. You're welcome. I love that movie. Big Moana guy. So is Teddy's niece. It's like, damn, you got a cool niece, Ted. Yeah, but we'll see how it goes.
All right. Thank you all for your questions again. Like I said before, nerdsoupforyou@gmail.com. So hit us up with some questions, and we're going to try to get to all of them. No, we will get to all of them. Eventually,
You will.
You will. God, I love that.
Tell me, have your questions been answered on Nerd Soup? They will.
That's good. I like that.
That's a little promo.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. You want to do Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings first? Pick one. Pick.
No.
Choose.
Just
right.
Choose.
One or two.
You must.
Say one or two.
One.
All right, Game of Thrones. See, I didn't even switch him right there. I kind of like, you thought I might have switched him? No, I didn't.
Didn't think anything of it.
All right, so Game of Thrones reportedly spent 55 nights of shooting on one battle sequence. That's incredible. How much was the Battle of Bastards?
22 days.
22 days.
22 days.
So this is more than double.
Biggest battle they've done. I can only imagine what the budget was for this episode. I forget what the Battle of the Bastards budget was for that episode.
I saw it's estimated like $15 million per episode, so they might have probably varied. I don't know, maybe anywhere from $15 to $20 million, which is a shit ton of money for an episode.
Yeah, and like you said, they doubled the shooting time, more than double. So you have to assume what Battle of the Bastards was 20, 25 minutes of that episode.
Well, yeah, the actual battle, like inside of it, which is fucking long.
Well, also the Daenerys stuff too, because you have to take that into account.
The Daenerys stuff, like the parlay in between the beginning, then they're talking.
Because they spent some money on the dragon CGI for that sequence.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
the first
true.
time we saw the big three into action than last time.
Well, I believe, or I would hope that we're gonna see a lot more of them in this battle.
I fucking hope so, man, because you got to give us something. We've only had the three of them once.
How do you think the battle is going to be presented? Do you think it's going to be one episode or span over multiple episodes?
Well, I think people, I hate talking about this too because it's like all the set photos that are being taken illegally without permission. But I guess if you want to skip ahead.
I don't want to hear a spoiler.
It's not a spoiler, but they're saying that the battle is taking place in different locations. It's almost like the end of Return of the Jedi. It's like you have Luke in the throne room, you have the Battle of Endor, and then you have the attack on the Death Star, where they're splicing together different locations. Winterfell, it could be King's Landing, or more likely, like the Riverlands. So we really don't know. I don't know how the battle is going to play out, but I can assume they have to be wrapping up shooting soon. So you'd have to think they have to go into post-production. Post-production takes 6 months? The show's coming out in not even 6 months, maybe closer to a year. The show's coming out in, like a year from now. So you would have to think shooting is wrapping up. This could be the finale. But what'd you say, over one episode or 2 episodes?
Yeah, I kind of want it to be like...
Well, 6 episodes, you have to think the runtime, they're rumoring that some of the episodes are going to go hour and a half. I'm assuming the finale is going to be over 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
But one thing I don't really like, not just in Game of Thrones, but like in general, like when we're presented a battle, it just happens in a span of one day and it's over with. Like they have the before battles, they prepare, battle it out, then the aftermath. We never get to see like the inner workings, like they're fighting all day. It's crazy, it's hectic. Then they kind of like fall back a little, regather themselves, try to figure it out again, and go back at it the next day, or like a long siege.
Yeah,
right. We never really get that.
You really want to see that?
I'm just saying, like the inner, like a long drawn out battle where you have to make adjustments and you have the inner turmoil between the different groups. And I guess the White Walkers don't really need to rest; they're just gonna keep moving forward.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know, just something more like I could see it spanning like a couple episodes. It's such a massive battle, but not just nonstop action. You know, you have time, you have room to like have them gather themselves and.
Right, well, you have to assume that there's going to be several battles, so I don't think this is just going to be one battle that takes place over 3 episodes. This maybe it is, but it's so hard to say, man. All I know is that there's not going to be a lot of filler episodes in Season 6. You know, there's not going to be a lot of East Watches. You know, East Watch was an episode in Season 7 that was characters are moving, I guess to appease all the people that cry about the fast travel. They're going places, all right. Time is lapsing.
You know what I don't get though? What's the benefit of having a 6-episode season, but the runtime be equivalent to like an 8-episode, maybe even 10 episodes?
Yeah, maybe
season?
even 10. Maybe just that it flows better.
Yeah,
the pacing, because there's going to be storylines that aren't going to be able to be wrapped up in 60 minutes. So you're just going to have if they did 10 episodes, it's just like every episode is a cliffhanger.
Okay.
That's what I would assume.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I think the length, this could be the longest season. Because if every episode is going an hour and a half, you have to, that's like 10 or 13 full episodes for any other season. And if the finale, I'm pretty sure the finale is going to be like a 2-hour movie.
If we get 6 feature-length episodes, I'm all for that.
They got to bring it home, man.
It's fucking windy out.
Talk about budget, What's that? What's cooking up over there at Amazon?
They're going crazy. They're just throwing bucks out everywhere. $1 billion. That, like, all right, so we're talking about Game of Thrones estimated.
But that includes the rights as well, right?
I read budget. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all rumors at this point. We can assume it's going to be a lot of fucking money.
It's going to be more money than anything.
Yeah, it's going to be the largest budget for a television program ever.
Let's just say $200 million over 5 seasons. That's $200 million per season. That's $20 million per episode if it's a 10-episode season.
And apparently Peter Jackson is going to be involved. That's another rumor floating around. What do you think about that? After The Hobbit.
Yeah, Peter Jackson, I guess, it's a lot of love-hate. I first saw the film, so I absolutely love. That wind is no fucking joke. Holy cow.
The winds of winter.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because they're like some like diehard book fans that are like, oh, Peter Jackson. He gets the D&D treatment, I feel like, sometimes. Like, oh, it's all right, but it's not Tolkien. He's the real master. And he is the real genius behind it, but I don't mind Peter Jackson being involved. I'm just interested to see how, like, what the story's going to be. Like, what are they going to do with this? And
do you have any ideas? What's the book that they purchased? It's basically like the encyclopedia of Middle-earth. You can't pronounce it, can you?
What?
You can't pronounce it? The Similarian or what?
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
You got scared. I don't even know if I pronounced it right.
It's kind of like the World of Ice and Fire,
right?
For
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
That's why I guess I just want to mention this real quick. I'm staking my claim right now. The prequel series for Game of Thrones, I think it's going to take place in Old Valyria. We don't really know much about Old Valyria, so they can really just do anything. They can make any story, they can introduce new characters, and they don't have to worry about people comparing it to George's work. And I think George would encourage that too. I think he would want to get involved in a show like that because it's not going to be fully his, but he can still sprinkle his ideas. And then you can end an Old Valyria show in like the fucking middle. You don't have to end it at the Doom. But for Lord of the Rings, apparently I haven't read the books and I don't know that much about the world, but apparently there's a lot of history that could be mined.
Yeah, I think it's very similar like with Game of Thrones too, like how it's enriched with history. Like
the world is bigger, right?
The story is lived in. Like I said, like The Hobbit, they kind of stretch that out because The Hobbit's I fucking love The Hobbit.
The movies?
No, the book.
Oh,
I have it on. I read it and then I have it on tape too. So it's actually a really good movie to listen on tape.
Book to listen on tape.
Yeah, whatever.
You just listen to the movie.
Oh,
I can't look at this. I just want to hear Benedict Cumberbatch's voice.
Oh, that is. They got to get him back in. There's so many different ways to go. I read somewhere that it might be like a rehashing of the same story that we've seen in the film.
Oh, fuck no.
Which I guess for like the hardcore fans, it would be like they can hit every detail like that was missed in the movie.
I want it to be in the same universe. You did the movies perfectly. Like, yeah, they're movies. They're obviously not going to get every detail correct. You have such a great universe already, and you say what you want about the Hobbit films. They're not awful.
No.
You could still build on what you did in the Hobbit. Visually, they were stunning.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a
the
little-
last one, he used like 30 red cameras or something like that. It was a lot of that movie is shot in IMAX. So maybe they do a theatrical release for the TV show. How awesome would that be? You know, Amazon says go see it in theaters for a couple weeks, then we'll drop it on the streaming service.
Well, like a couple episodes.
Yeah, like the first two. I think that would be a great IMAX experience.
And they had the money for that.
Yeah, they have the money for fucking anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what story to go to. I'm not really like with Game of Thrones. I'm more invested in the universe. I can, tell you about the Dance of Dragons and the Dunkin' Egg and all the rich past. I'm not really too invested into the past or Lord of the Rings. I need to do like a whole nother overhaul where I just consume everything I can again. Because with Game of Thrones, I'm constantly doing that. Lord of the Rings, I'm not, so I kind of forget a lot of stuff. But I'm excited for this because
Oh, I can't fucking wait.
After Game of Thrones, like it's gonna be a void of like fantasy epic,
Well, imagine we get Old Valyria and this going at the same time. Just the fucking fantasy wars.
It's weird too because first I want to Dance of Dragons, but
We know how it ends.
exactly that's what I would hate. Robert's Rebellion to be cool. I would like a movie, I guess, not a series.
Robert's Rebellion 2, George always says we're going to know every important detail about it by the time Game of Thrones is over. So that's why Old Valyria, you can do anything. And it's thousands of years of just mystery. And the society, too. The society may be way more advanced than the one that we see in Westeros. It probably wasn't a medieval society, like a traditional one. Like, they probably had some freaky fucking magic tech. Magic took the place of science officially.
Like a Wakanda.
Right, yeah. But, without, like, digital, like, there's no holograms or
yeah,
telephones.
but
in a magical sense.
Yeah.
Like, the dragon power is their vibranium, almost.
Oh.
Because you look at some of the fan art, especially of the Doom of Valyria, it looks way more advanced than Westeros.
I'm sure it was.
Or, what's the most advanced city in Game of Thrones? I think it's Bravos, right?
It's definitely one of the free cities.
Yeah.
It's always referenced that like Westeros is behind.
Yeah.
Behind in the times.
But imagine we had both of those going at the same time, man.
Oh.
Oh.
You thinking about the views, son?
I'm thinking about the enjoyment.
It's
I'm
interesting.
thinking about like, oh my God, that's like the DC Marvel war that we haven't gotten, that we all want. Like, how great would it be if we had DC and Marvel, two healthy, thriving cinematic universes right now? Because I think Amazon's going to deliver with this. I have a lot of faith in them.
The only thing I don't like, I think we've had this conversation before about the Netflix and Amazon's, is the release.
Yeah, you're a weekly guy.
I would kind of feel like a little, I'd feel a little disappointed if they just dropped the whole season on the release date. I think that takes a lot away from a series. There's no build up, there's no anticipation, there's no hype, there's nothing to look forward to. There's no like digging up theories, trying to connect pieces. It's just here it is. Watch it as fast as you can, and then when you're done, you don't know who to talk about it with because people haven't finished it yet. I think the weekly release is the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. I don't
know. What do you guys? It's an interesting question too because people love to do that. I love to do it too with certain shows. Like comes out, I binge it, and
I don't hate the other way.
And I feel like you forget about it too. If you blow by a season, and you kind of.
Well, I've talked to a lot of people that said that about Stranger Things season 2, that they just didn't remember anything about the first season, so they haven't watched the second season. They don't have time to watch 16 straight hours of television.
It's something about a community of like television lovers on Twitter all week, like
it's
hyping it up, and when it finally comes and everyone's reacting to it in real time.
That Game of Thrones Sunday, man.
Yeah, it doesn't
gets
beat
trending early in the morning.
Yeah.
You could see Game of Thrones, you see the episode title, you see the characters trending. And it's event television. I think something like Lord of the Rings, if they're going to drop this much money on it, you want that weekly build-up.
Or at least like release the first 8 and then a week later do the season finale or something like that.
That would be cool, yeah. It'd be interesting because they would have to have a set time and we would all have to log in to our accounts. And I guess, how they calculate the ratings. But the Amazon and Netflix, they don't release their ratings anyway.
Well, it's an interesting question. What do you guys think? If you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments. And if you're on iTunes, tweet at me at NerdSoupMonkey. And it's kind of like a little test to see if you're still listening. So
right.
That's an old podcast trick. All right, now let's get to the reason why you probably all are here. The Rampage movie review.
George!
Oh, that's a great
George out the jungle. It's terrible.
Yeah,
we'll just come out and say it. And people are going to comment and be like, "Oh, you guys don't like fun." No, I do. I like dumb fun.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you can. But we're going to get right into spoilers. Really nothing to spoil, but just in case.
Everything that you think is going to happen happens. I compare this to a movie, just his last movie, Jumanji. Jumanji it's not the most sophisticated movie in the world. It's a very simple plot.
It was fun.
But yeah, it's fun. You have characters that you like. You have characters that you're rooting for. You have everybody engaged in the story. Good casting, good visual effects. The action set pieces are exciting and original. And this movie is just the opposite of everything I just said about Jumanji. And I think right off the bat, I could say the movie doesn't look cheap. It looks like a real movie, and the pacing I thought was okay. I thought you had something there with the story. You could have made a fun monster / disaster / The Rock doing The Rock things type of movie. But the dialogue and the script was terrible.
It was bad.
Yeah, and you don't need a great script. You just need a good one.
I've been on record and kind of tongue-in-cheek saying that The Rock has never made a bad movie.
Which is incorrect.
I know it's incorrect, but let me have this. I'm a big Rock guy, big Dwayne Johnson. And yeah, I know it's good.
You even said if this was bad, you were going to just shill for The Rock anyway.
I know, but
that's
I can't.
Saying, that's saying
I can't with this one, though.
Yeah.
See, if it was like, I don't know, what's the earthquake movie called again?
With The Rock?
Yeah.
Oh, San Andreas. That's a fun movie.
Yeah, I could shill through that. I could shill through a couple of Rock movies, you know.
You shilled for Baywatch. You didn't even fucking see it.
Yeah, but I liked it. This one's pretty bad. And it's really it's not The Rock's fault. Like you said, the writing, the dialogue is just so bad.
He was off his game a little bit.
He was. But
and I don't think it's his fault. I think it was the writing.
It's hard to deliver those lines. And I feel like all the actors were off their game.
Yeah. Naomi Harris, who's a great actor, she was bad in this.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan was pretty over.
His character was the worst.
The fucking douchebag from The Office that steals Andy Bernard's girlfriend.
And I love all these actors, too. Like, even though Jeffrey Dean Morgan was bad in this, I still liked him in it.
Yeah.
I just like watching Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Being a cowboy.
I kept thinking to myself, I was like, damn, he'd make such a great Batman. As Batman's dad, you know, in the Flashpoint movie, if that ever happens.
And it's very, like, they explain everything to you in the dialogue. It's, like, things that, like, aren't happening. Like one of the monsters would, like, hit a building. It's like, oh, they're coming. Like, things like that. And, like,
are you familiar with genetic editing?
Oh, my God.
That is the funniest line of the movie, where they're breaking down what's happening to all these animals, that they basically made a pathogen that combines all the traits of different animals. Jurassic World, by the way. Same fucking plot as Jurassic World. You have, like, the woman scientist who had a hand in it, and then you have, like, the big hunky guy who's like, well, we need to take them down. But that line where she's explaining what's happening to George, she's, like, breaking down all the animals. She's like, you know what happens when you combine all these animals into one? It's like, yeah, you got a confused gorilla that kills grizzly bears. I was like, that might be the greatest or worst thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm going to go with worst.
So you combine all these things, the speed of the cheetah, the strength of a rhinoceros beetle. I mean, what do you get?
Confused. I just want to keep saying it. A confused gorilla that kills grizzly bears. There were so many cliche, like, terrible action movie lines in this. That's when people sit down to write these scripts, they should have, like, a whiteboard of things that you can't say. Like, they have the formula. Can't say it. My God. Can't say it. You know? We have to get there in time. The clock's ticking. Can't say it. Like, there are things you just can't say anymore.
And it was funny at times, like, both, like, it wasn't intentionally supposed to be funny. And there were a couple of funny parts, but
it was very unintentionally funny, and the funny parts that were trying to be funny were funny because they were so bad.
Yeah, and a lot of the humor missed, delivered very poorly on all accounts.
When she suggested that they steal the helicopter, and he's like, that's why you always bring a doctor. To what? What do you mean you always bring a doctor? To when you're fucking ape?
Oh, when The Rock and Jeffrey this guy at their first meet, and she's like, oh, you guys want to... you guys gonna fight each other?
He's like, you know,
under her breath, she says something stupid.
I forget the line that he says to The Rock, where he's like, you know, I don't, or, you know, people always have bad intentions. He's like, well, take off these cuffs and see for yourself. What? And she's like, did you really think he was gonna take off the cuffs? That was actually funny, because it was almost like meta, like, this movie is terrible. You
know, we do like our own. You've heard of like a popcorn movie before? We like to call movies like this a slushy movie.
Yeah, this is a slushy movie. This might be a too slushy movie.
Yeah, you get a slushy, and
yeah,
you just sit there
you
and
slush your problems.
I had too much slushy, And I'm on like a big diet too. I had to get a slushie for this, or I don't think I could have made it through the ticket taker. And there's like a part like in the middle where it's just so boring and bad before the the third act action chaos breaks out.
How bad was the action too?
It was very underwhelming.
Yeah.
It wasn't even fun.
No.
And I just had like so much sugar in my body, and I thought I was like dying for a second, but I made it out.
Yeah, that probably could have helped your viewing experience if you did pass out. Would have helped everybody in the theater. But they were loving it. And that's the thing. I think if you go out and you like this movie, it's because the action set pieces worked for you. If the action was great, there was one thing that I liked when the wolf kind of took out the helicopter the first time. I was like, damn, he fucking bodied that helicopter. And I like when they had like the tribute to the old game where it was just the gorilla and the wolf just kind of picking up cars, throwing them, destroying helicopters. I was like, oh, I remember doing this as a kid.
I wanted to see like when they were climbing up the building, like hit a window and you see someone, like a person there, like, and they grab them and just eat them.
Well, they did that too. They did when they ate the villain, who was terrible.
Yeah.
I always forget her name, Silk Spectre. She was just terrible, and her brother from The Office or from Community, whatever one he was in, they were both bad. But they did the nice little tribute where they threw her in the air, and he hadn't been doing that at all throughout the whole movie. The gorilla wasn't eating anybody.
You know, gorillas are carnivores.
Yeah, and how the hell would they know in that moment that it's like, I'm feeding the monster to the ape? Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. Yeah, that guy's from The Office. He's a douchebag in that movie.
Yeah, so I mean, the movies like this, they have to be. It's like Kong Skull Island. I love Kong Skull Island. The characters are pretty one-dimensional.
They
They're
never
pretty shallow.
they never explain like the wolf and alligator. They're massive, but George isn't.
The Rock was saying on Instagram a couple weeks ago too that the lizard could beat King Kong one-on-one. Not King Kong, Godzilla. No fucking way.
And the Rock's like a fucking Avenger at the end. He could have fucking
mess with my friend, you mess with me, mother.
He could have laced them up against Thanos, and if that's the case.
Well, they even mentioned the Justice League.
Yeah.
It's like you couldn't even get that right. It's not even the popular team. It's the Avengers.
Well, it's Warner Brothers.
That's the popular. Oh yeah, that's true.
And it's The Rock and George, an undersized George, because I don't know why he's not as big as the wolf and the alligator, against the wolf and the alligator. And The Rock, after seeing this thing getting bombed and
George is a tweener.
And shot, and
he's positionless,
and nothing
he's
phases these guys.
Small
the Rock,
forward, power forward.
And The Rock's just like, yeah, let me just sit here with a gun. Maybe I can get him.
Bazooka. And then he went in the helicopter. He just kept ducking everything.
He's a fucking Avenger.
I
kind of like Fast and the Furious now. Like they're basically the Avengers in cars.
The way it opened too, I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. Yeah, this is gonna be dumb fun. I like that opening sequence with the space station with the fucking mutated rat. And she had to get out of there. It's like, this is going to be cool. It looks good. It looks like a professional Hollywood movie, but it sucks. And that's a shame because I love The Rock. And I love all the actors in this.
You could have had, like, Joe Manganiello and The Rock team up and do something
Oh,
crazy.
yeah. What a waste of him, too.
His
death seems...
He was in it for, like, 2 seconds.
Yeah. It's like the military guy. Remember that military company that we bought that you called Killers Are Us? We're the us. What? What does that even mean? Did you bring the doctor?
I was like, what the
This
fuck?
is why you need a doctor.
Who's the other guy, the bald guy that was with Joe? I feel like he's like a bad guy in something, too.
Which guy?
The bald guy in the helicopter when they're first going to get the wolf.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
He looked like he was from something.
Probably.
Most people are. Most actors are in other films.
Unless it's their first movie, yeah, but usually. So what would you give it out of 10?
I'm trying to think.
I would have to go 2 out of 10.
I was gonna say 2, but I'll bump it up to a 3 because I laughed a couple times and it was kind of fun at times. And George is the boss, so
George was the best part of the movie.
yeah. So.
Actually, yeah, I'll bump it up to 3 because of George. He was very funny, and I was rooting for him.
Yeah, we're all rooting
big
for
George guy. Jorge.
All right, well that does it for another episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. I think that was a good one.
Yeah, just keep telling yourself that, kid. I think it was a good one. What do you guys think, huh? You liked it? Leave a like.
Yeah. We'll be back Monday.
Where are the animations?
Yeah, the animations.
Back Monday with 2 videos. Game of Thrones,
we'll drop
episode 3, The Nightlands.
Yep. We'll drop that around the same time we usually do, and then maybe this later on that night.
One of our funniest videos, if I do say so myself. Get ready for that.
It's probably me because I'm the funny one out of us.
And almost a week away from Westworld. So get ready for that. We're dropping 2 Westworld videos a week when that happens.
Hell yeah. And you wanted to plug your little...
Actually, 3.
Mm.
Going 3 Westworld a week. Oh, my side project with Andres?
Yeah.
Well, me and Andres, the marshmallow that you know from It and the Star Wars review that we did, we were thinking of doing, basically we wanted to review every Metal Gear Solid game, going back to Metal Gear Solid 1. No Metal Gear. I don't know why, because Andres is like, no Metal Gear.
Are those
Like,
popular
okay.
games? Or
Well, it's one of the most critically acclaimed franchises in the world, so yeah. I'm sure there's going to be some people in the comments like, yeah, Metal Gear. The 5th one...
That's not the... No, it's not. I was thinking of, like, what's that old place?
Solid Snake.
I was thinking of the
the eye
PlayStation
patch.
games, like when everyone's like their cars and there's like a clown car. Yeah, like fight each other.
Oh, you're talking about Twisted Metal.
No, we should do that. That's a game.
Yeah, that is a fucking game. Not only is that a game, that's a great name.
Yeah.
I'm a big name guy, you know? Metal Gear Solid is a fresh name, too.
Mm.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Just sounds cool. But yeah, we were thinking of doing Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I think we were also going to do Peacemaker. Andres and Manny wanted to do that. So I'm basically, because I gave my PS3 to Stu to borrow, and he gave it away.
No way.
So I don't have a fucking PS3 anymore. So I can't, those games aren't on the PS4.
PlayStation
so.
Now, maybe.
No, they're not.
No.
Actually, yeah, no, I don't think the Legacy Collection is on PlayStation Now. So Andres would have told me. That kid is... He wanted me to play the precursor, the prologue to Metal Gear Solid 5 so bad that he was going to fucking buy it for me. I'm like, Andres, I'll fucking buy it myself, man. Calm down.
I don't know if he wants to buy anything for me to do. He could do that.
Yeah, if it's something that he really likes and you want to try, just text him.
Okay.
Be like, yo, I'm really into this. He'll show up to your house.
Like
Just like give you the rundown.
Like pizza?